Way to go, Tic Tac!
That's how you punch.
Wakanda forever!
You wouldn't have heard of me.
Let me put you on hold.
Dance off, bro! He's a friend from work!
I can do this all day.
Yeah, I know.
What up, guys? It's Dom, and welcome back to another TV show review. Today we'll be going over and ranking Blue Mountain State Season 1. Now, I almost chose not to review Blue Mountain State simply because it's not as continuous as a lot of other shows are, but because it still has that continuity throughout not only the first season a little bit, but especially through the second and third season, I said I definitely gotta review it. So this is one of my favorite shows. I've rewatched it plenty of times. I found myself enjoying it every time. So without further ado, let's go over the 7 essential aspects of a TV show. The first essential aspect is plot. So when it comes to the overall plot of the first season, there isn't so much to go off of. It is a lot like one of those TV shows where it's just a different story every single episode and they don't really connect other than the characters. But what does save it overall is the last 2 episodes. I think when it comes to them actually going to the bowl and having this chance to win and you see everyone going through the same stuff and it's continuous, that's what makes it feel more like an actual story being told and less so of a bunch of little stories being told. So I personally think the plot is like a 6 out of 10. Like, it has some things going, but it's not really till the end. So the plot isn't too much, but it's I guess it's a good introduction to these characters and really showing what their stories are about. The second essential aspect is attraction. So when it comes to the concept, I mean, it's nothing really worth mentioning. It's just football players living on campus and you just see their story. That's really it. But the comedy is something that I really enjoy. The comedy of this show, how raunchy it is, how dangerous it can be, it's really funny. I personally am a big fan of those. I know not everyone is. Not everyone's about the raunchy comedy. It's really hit or miss for a lot of people. But me personally, I really thought it was awesome. The third essential aspect is dialogue. I really liked the dialogue. I mean, I believe that 99% of the characters, when they're having conversations or just talking in general, it sounds like real college students. It sounds like real people in general. The situations they get in, not always as realistic, but the actual characters themselves when they're talking, the dialogue that is being shown on screen is realistic. I think Thad Castle is a rare circumstance, and that's why he's that 1 percentile, but everyone else definitely has good dialogue. The fourth essential aspect is acting. So out of all the side and main characters, there wasn't any bad acting. There could have been from some extras that I didn't really notice, but from the main and side characters, I don't think there was any. There definitely was some notable individuals that I wanted to mention. One was Darren Brooks, who played Alex Moran. He is the main star of the show. He definitely did well in the acting, just because it's hard sometimes to act in a comedy movie and act well because the writers are forcing a lot of jokes at you. But so far, him and everyone else that I'm about to list off knew how to do it, but still be good TV. Like, I don't know how else to explain it. Like, they were funny, but they also were realistic, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Another one is Alan Richardson, who played Thad. He was definitely more of a side character in this first season, but whenever he was on screen, you were laughing. He was a very funny dude, especially since he's just a big jock with little brains and a high-pitched scream. So I just thought it was really funny, and he's definitely also one of my favorite characters, especially in the later seasons. Then we have Chris Romano, who played Sammy Cacciatore, Alex Moran's best friend. He is also, honestly, he is probably the character there that's just meant to be a funny dude. That's all he's really meant there to be, which I think is hilarious, and he is very good, so I think he acted really well. And then Sam Jones III, who played Craig Shiloh. Now, I feel like he had more of a continuous plot of his own throughout this whole first season. I feel like the relationship that he had with his girlfriend is what was... You could track down everything that happens in their relationship throughout the whole first season. So I think that's kind of what did sew this first season together when it came to plot, just because, I mean, it felt realistic, so it's something you wanted to latch onto, you wanted to know more about, so you focused more on it, and that's what caused this continuity. Holy moly. And finally, I also wanted to bring up my second favorite character, Ed Marinaro, Coach Marty Daniels. I think that he is such a funny dude, especially when he tries to mentor Alex Moran, who just wants to be a bench player. He doesn't want to be a starter. He wants to be a backup. But I just think that his character in general is so interesting because he is a rich dude, obviously because he's been coaching for so long, but you find out more and more about, like, you start off only knowing about him being a coach, and then you start learning more and more about his actual life outside of coaching, and it just keeps wrapping you. It just keeps pulling you into the character. You want to know more. You want to know more. And I feel like if the acting for this character wasn't done well, it just wouldn't be perceived as. He definitely wouldn't be one of my favorite characters if the acting wasn't well. So I just had to shout him out because of that good acting. Oh my gosh, word sandwich. Because of that good acting, he is one of my favorite characters. The fifth essential aspect is cinematography. So this is a comedy. So when it comes to the emotional side, there isn't as much. You do feel it, especially at the end of the season. I will say that. At the end of the season, when it comes to the bowl game, you are definitely rooting for BMS, and you want to know who wins. That I'll definitely say that does have me emotionally attached. But I do think that even though there wasn't too much emotion in this season, what it does do is get you invested in the characters. And because of that, the following seasons have even more emotions involved in them. So I guess it's a good beginner. It's a good starting point to make you really like this show. So I'll give them that. But in general, the emotional side and even like the visual side is fine. It's just not really much. There's no CGI or anything, so it just looks fine. But yeah, the emotional side, it's lackluster, but it gets better. The sixth essential aspect is soundtrack. The intro to this TV show is one of my favorite intros of all time. It is so catchy, it is so good, and this is one of the only shows where I don't skip through the introduction just because I want to hear it again. So that I have to give it, that the soundtrack is crazy good. And the seventh essential aspect is time. I think to this point, Blue Mountain State has stood the test of time. I mean, when the game college football came out, I literally saw people making the BMS team in that game because it's still somewhat relevant, right? When you think about TV shows about football, Blue Mountain State is in the top 3. It's my number 1, but it's in the top 3. So I think it's still talked about to this day. People that have watched it remember it forever. And if you haven't watched it, you've at least heard of it before. That's how I feel. So I think it stood the test of time, but you guys let me know in the comments. Now, onto the rating. So when I take all the essential aspects and I really boil it down and think about it, especially when I'm comparing it to other TV shows and other seasons in general, honestly, this first season of Blue Mountain State, I'd give like a 75. I think there could be an argument made for in this high 60s, low 70s. I think there could be an argument made for the 80s. I just think that the lackluster plot and the cinematography not being as forward in this first season, it just can't be in the 80s. I think high 70s, I'm putting it because I really enjoy the comedy. I think the attraction is there, which is the biggest, honestly, the attraction is the biggest part of the TV show. That and plot. But because the plot isn't there, I just had to bring it down. So yeah, my overall rating for Blue Mountain State Season 1 is 75%. And finally, the rankings. So individually, it will be first since it's the only season I have reviewed thus far of Blue Mountain State. I mean, it's Season 1, so for now, it's going to be first. And in all time, it's going to be second, below Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man Season 1. Obviously, there's no other Season 2, so just the whole show. I think that at the point right now where I'm reviewing Blue Mountain State, which is just Season 1 on itself, it is not as good as Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. I think the plot that Spider-Man has, the characters it has, the cinematography, the actual emotion and visuals that it has is just more than this Blue Mountain State can really live up to. So I think it was an easy choice. At this point, it's going to be second. That's all I have for Blue Mountain State Season 1. If you guys enjoyed this review, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and make sure to comment what movie you want me, or what movie or TV show you want me to review next. If you want to see someone that does a similar thing, he doesn't do TV shows, he just does movies, but if you want to see someone that does the reviews, check out my best friend, Mr. Majoritarian. He does the same exact thing I do with the, when I'm doing movies at least, with the year, decade, and an all-time rankings, with the reviews, with all the 10 essential aspects. So definitely go check him out. He has a completely different list than me because he has a different opinion than me. But yeah, his link will always be in my description. And I hope you guys have an amazing night. Peace out.